Week 9 is over. We're past it. We're moving forward. It's time for Week 10 of the 2023 NFL season and another week of our NFL Power Rankings on the Bottom Line View, where I rank every single NFL team from the worst to the best, from number 32 to number 1. Who is right now the best team in the NFL? Answer that in the comment section below, because I feel like we could have a bunch of different answers right now, but there might be one popular and correct choice. I feel I'm going to be controversial in this video once we get to that top 10. I have some takes. I have some hot takes that I have to get off of my chest. And now that we are at week 10, it's time to really start to project and predict how these teams will do when they face each other in the playoffs, how the contenders will truly perform, and which teams are the pretenders. So, without further ado, Gronk, spike the like button if you enjoy these power rankings every week. Get in the comment section. Let me know where I'm right. Let me know where I'm wrong. Let me know your hot take. And let's kick it off with a new number 32. At number 32, the New York G-Men. The Giants are at number 32. And now that we're in week 10, I'm not going to spend an entire 3 minutes on the New York Giants. But that being said, when you have Tommy DeVito starting at quarterback for the foreseeable future, you're toast, brother. You're toast. I don't have to say anything else. It's an embarrassment. It's malpractice. This guy is an XFL, CFL quality quarterback. He is not an NFL quarterback. The Giants don't have a good offensive line, don't have a good receiving core. Darren Waller on IR. Who would have thought? And the defense had one of their worst performances against the Raiders last week. So the Giants are the worst team in the NFL with Tommy DeVito. Tyrod Taylor, they're maybe like the 30th. They're the worst team with Tommy DeVito. I mean, there is no question. At number 31, the Carolina Panthers. Oh, what was that? Breaking news. Bryce Young just threw another pick six. At number 31, the Carolina Panthers. At number 30, the man, the myth, the Call of Duty player, Kyler Murray is back. And yes, Call of Duty being released may distract him from his career. But it says in his contract that he has to study the film. I believe that Kyler Murray will play this week and Kyler Murray will be back. And I'm looking forward to seeing Kyler Murray operate with this terrible Cardinals team. But I think it's going to make them more watchable, more entertaining, and probably more competitive. They traded Josh Dobbs to get Kyler in there for the rest of the year, and we'll see if he can win them a couple games. I'm not sure if they even want him to do that because of the trade position and the draft position that they could have with that pick. But Kyler's really playing for his franchise spot with the Cardinals. If Kyler doesn't play well, the Cardinals have to consider moving on from him and picking a quarterback at number 1 or number 2 or wherever they draft. And if he plays well enough to say, whoa, we could build with this guy and get a king's ransom for these picks, maybe they trade their first pick and they get like a bunch of picks to build this roster. So it's intriguing either way, but the Cardinals are respectable. They're not an absolute dumpster fire, and their quarterback doesn't constantly throw picks. They have Kyler Murray. They don't have Tommy DeVito, and they don't have Bryce Young. They have the good version of Bryce Young. Next, at number 29, the Chicago Bears. Bajent the Agent actually kind of had some good moments last week early on, but then it became a turnover fest for the Chicago Bears. I moved them up on the list because they actually could have won the game against the Saints. 5 turnovers, and they only lost by 7 points. So that's fairly impressive, especially on the road. I think their run game has gotten a little bit better, and their offense isn't like totally unwatchable compared to some other teams in the NFL right now. Their defense definitely got a boost from Montez Sweat. Love the way that guys like Jalen Johnson are playing. But to me, like, this team's just not that talented. They don't have a very good defensive or offensive line. And Cole Kmet's having a good year. I actually like their weaponry quite a bit, but the quarterback position is definitely the thing they're missing the most, and I would consider them moving on from their head coach, Matt Eberflus, this offseason. At number 28, the Green Bay Packers. Talk about coaching malpractice. I think Matt LaFleur is an absolute disaster this year right now. He is being exposed for the mid-head coach that he has been throughout his career, carried by Aaron Rodgers for most of the tenure in Green Bay, it feels like. This guy has not really set up his young football team for success, his young quarterback for success, and it just doesn't make sense, their offense. There's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no intent to get their playmakers the football other than this week, Aaron Jones, other than the rest of the season, not Aaron Jones, but the offensive line's regressed. The defense is still trash. I don't know why they continue to employ Joe Barry. I understand that they played well against the Rams' third-string quarterback or whatever, but like that's not an accomplishment for me. So at number 28, I have the Green Bay Packers. At number 27, the New England Patriots. I moved them down a couple spots after kind of embarrassingly losing to the Commanders. They could have tied the game near the end, but Juju Smith-Schuster drops the football, which is just a microcosm of their entire season. I mean, their wide receiver position's the worst in the NFL post Kendrick Bourne. Their guys can't run routes. They can't separate. Every team in the NFL, even if they play heavy zone coverages, just decide to play man and shut them down because they can't get open. Mac Jones really can't elevate the rest of the offense the way that a good quarterback could. The thing is with Mac, he's just kind of average, and some of the things that he used to do at a high level have kind of been ruined, like his mechanics, like his decision-making at times. But what is the kid supposed to do when his receivers don't get open, his offensive line can barely block, and they have maybe 2 good runs an entire game? Ramondre Stevenson's looked a little bit better, but there's nothing really to be excited about on offense other than maybe Demario Douglas as like a future number 2 or 3 receiver for this team. The defense is just underperforming. I get it, they don't have Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez, but you sit Jack Jones, you sit J.C. Jackson, you get what you deserve, Bill Belichick. You're getting torched. Miles Bryant stinks. Don't know if he deserves to be on an NFL field, yet he starts for a good secondary from a talent standpoint. Belichick's not even elevating this unit at this point, so I don't know what to say. Special teams is absolutely atrocious. Like, they have the highest paid special teams in the NFL, and they go offside in the biggest moment of the game. I don't even know what to say. This team is a disaster. They need to get rid of the man in charge. At number 26, the Los Angeles Rams. I moved them to 26, still ahead of New England, but not quite one of the worst teams. They did lose pretty convincingly to the Packers. They just couldn't move the ball. They couldn't score any points, and that's because of the quarterback they had in there. But at the same time, I think that Carson Wentz does give them a slight upgrade. He's not as good as Stafford, but he's probably better than what they had. So I give them a little bit of a bonus there. I think Carson Wentz still has some ability as like at least a backup level quarterback, if not has some starter traits with arm strength and things like that. He can make some throws, and I do think McVay will get the most that he can possibly get out of Carson Wentz at this point in his career. Defensively, they're not very good. They play admirably within the scheme, and they play situationally pretty good. But, I mean, they just don't have a lot of talent. And then offensive line's a big weakness. Cooper Kupp in and out of the lineup. Nakua slowing down. Stafford was most of this team's success early on, and it's faded because, like we predicted, he got hurt. So, at number 26, the Rams. At number 25, the Washington Commanders. The Commanders played well offensively against New England. I'll give them a lot of credit for their game just because Montez Sweat and Chase Young left. They both got injured. And for 2 of your best players and marquee names on your team to get traded and then you respond in that fashion, I think I just said they got hurt. I meant traded. For them to get traded and for you to respond that way, that's impressive. I think that speaks to the players in the building, the leadership in the building. I still think they need to move on from Ron Rivera and that coaching staff. I think they need to elevate Eric Bieniemy because everything promising about this team this year has come from Eric Bieniemy. The passing offense, Sam Howell's development, The defense has been pretty below average. They just faced a really bad offense in the New England Patriots, so it didn't look that bad on Sunday. But I think that Washington will be at least a fun watch for the rest of the year because Sam Howell makes plays. He can throw the football, he can scramble, he can extend plays. Yes, he takes a lot of sacks, but there's some things to build on there. And I really like the receiving core. I think they got a lot of stuff that I like on offense. The defense, Forbes maybe had his best game of the season. At least that's something you can say about the defense this past week. At number 24, the Las Vegas Raiders are back. The Raiders responded to Josh McDaniels getting fired in a big way, in an emotional way. Aiden O'Connell, nice game for him. Not a lot of mistakes. Some nice big-time throws. Looking good in the pocket. I just like the way he looks in the pocket. He looks like a starting quarterback. The way he rips the football, especially to the intermediate level of the field, and even a little bit on that deep ball. I like him. And then you've got a running game with Josh Jacobs that's starting to get it going. That has become, I feel, their identity under Antonio Pierce. Tough, gritty Raider, run the rock, throw it down the field. Football, Al Davis designed it that way. The wide receiving core is talented. Hunter Renfrow had a sighting this week. And the defense, Max Crosby might be the defensive player of the year, at least in terms of performance. Probably not going to get the award, but he might be the best defensive player in the NFL this year. There's nobody that does as much for their defense as Max Crosby. The guy is insane. You know, he's right there with TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and company. So at number 24, the Raiders. At number 23, the Indianapolis Colts. I like to watch their offense. I love their run scheme under Steichen. I think it's one of the most creative and interesting in the NFL. The offensive line has certainly been much better this year than last year. Gardner Minshew makes a few throws and plays every game, and as long as he's not throwing it to the other team, they seem to be competitive with every opponent they play. Michael Pittman's having a low-key pretty good year. Josh Downs, the rookie, got injured last game, but has had a good year and shows development. The defense is kind of up and down, hit and miss. DeForest Buckner, I thought, had a great game against Carolina. Secondary's weak. They certainly have weaknesses, but they're a fun team to watch. They seem to beat the bad teams, and they're about mid right now. Like, they're 4-5. They're in the mix. You know, this is a team to definitely look towards in the future. I think they found a good coach. And as long as they can build that offense around, hopefully, Anthony Richardson being healthy on the field and active, I think they have a promising future. At number 22, the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos have been building something the last few weeks. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They've played much better defense. I was impressed by their defense against the Green Bay Packers. I thought they played good defense in both of the Chiefs games. Now the question is their defense just good against the Chiefs, or is their defense really improving? And I honestly think it has. I think they're just missing less tackles. I think their coverage is tighter and more aggressive and better. And I feel like they're just playing more sound football on the defensive side. Their offense is starting to really run the ball quite well. Javonte Williams is looking like himself. I like the McLaughlin kid as well. And then Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, they have something at wide receiver. Russell Wilson isn't great, but he isn't bad either. They're a team that I feel like is going to be kind of a pain in the butt for a lot of teams. Like, not a for sure win, but not a team that you can really count on to beat bad teams either. I just feel like they're a little bit more respectable than what they were last year or what they were early in this season. It took some time, but Sean Payton's starting to figure this thing out and point it in the right direction at number 22. At number 21, the Atlanta Falcons, who are moving down on my power rankings. Just very confused by Arthur Smith's process week to week. The usage of Bijan Robinson is gross. I mean, they're counting on Jonnu Smith to be their number one playmaker right now, and it's just head-scratching. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, Tyler Algier, like, I don't get it. The offensive line is underperforming right now, in my opinion. I don't really get the sense that this team has any inspiration. Like, I don't think there's any, like, hope for this franchise right now with what we're seeing from their head coach on a weekly basis. Losing to Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, with no practice, and then the quarterback position led by Taylor Heineken, who's like a backup. Like, he's just a journeyman dude. Like, there is no real future or hope here. I don't understand why they didn't make a quarterback move. Like, they just don't make any sense, this football team. The defense was playing really good early in the year. They've since regressed and had a couple bad games back to back. So I'm moving them down my list, man, until they prove to me that they're actually going in a direction that makes some sort of sense. At number 20, I have the Tennessee Titans. A similar team to Atlanta in terms of their build, but I feel like there's actual hope with the Titans. Now, they did beat Atlanta, which helped them move ahead of Atlanta. They also played very competitively against the Steelers on the road on Thursday night with a rookie quarterback. That's something to look to and say that's positive for me. Like, they could have easily won that game. I thought they kind of outplayed the Steelers for 3 quarters, as most opponents of the Steelers do. Their defense is solid. I was surprised by their lack of run defense in that game against the Steelers, which is definitely something that concerns me. They need to get better in that area. But I do overall like the defense and the defensive front. Mike Vrabel's a really good coach. I think Will Levis shows a lot of flashes, and that's what makes you really excited if you're a Titans fan, because Will Levis could be your guy. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite guy, but he could definitely be the next Ryan Tannehill for this team, if not better physically. Like, he's got a great arm, love his toughness, love his size, think he can scramble a little bit better than he's shown. And I like some of the things they're doing with Derrick Henry, the running game. D-Hop has played better. Like, I think there's something to at least be excited about in Tennessee to look forward to for the rest of the year. At number 19, the New York Jets with an embarrassing performance at home on Monday Night Football. Just putrid. And everyone's blaming Zach Wilson. It's the rapid reaction. I'm not going to sit here and say it's all on Zach Wilson when your offensive line can't block a soul, especially the right tackle. The wide receivers stink outside of Garrett Wilson, and everyone knows that you're running the ball on first down. I mean, Hackett is a joke. The scheme is a joke. The defense is awesome, like really fun to watch, very fast, great in coverage, good pass rush, but like there's just not enough here for you to be a playoff team. It's too one-dimensional of a team, and it's not just the quarterback that's holding the Jets back. It's the entire offense. At number 18, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I actually liked what I saw from the Bucs offense and was very, very, very much shook at the Bucs defense. I mean, they haven't played that poorly all year. Now, CJ Stroud is different. He's historic as a rookie quarterback. He did some crazy things in that game, but the Bucs coverage at times is just doesn't make any sense. I mean, Carlton Davis got toasted consistently versus Tank Dell. The run defense has not been as dominant as it was early in the year for whatever reason, although that wasn't the issue against the Texans. The pass rush is up and down and inconsistent. Still feel like they need to blitz too much to get pressure. That's a big weakness for them. Leaves their back end exposed. Their offense, I just like how Baker played. I thought he played very efficient. I thought he played really accurate ball. You know, he tried to make some plays on the move when he needed to. I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin do some good things every week. Rachaad White is really becoming a go-to running back in this game. And Rachaad White surprises me every week. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of him as a rookie. Like, I thought he was fine or whatever. The last couple of weeks, he's making more people miss. He's running better routes out of the backfield. He's making consistent grabs for them when they need to on checkdowns and making a guy miss and getting a first down. And he's running the ball pretty well, and the Bucs are starting to run the ball a little bit better. Like, overall, their offense is looking a bit better. I wouldn't be shocked if this team got a wild card spot, and I wouldn't mind it. I like how Baker's playing, and I like the Baker story. Like, I mean, is he not better than Deshaun Watson? I'm not sure he's not better than Deshaun Watson. So, at number 18, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At number 17, the Minnesota Vikings. The Pastronaut is in Minnesota, and he's doing big things. That 4th and 7 scramble was something special. This team's vibe, this team's energy, it's just different. It's fun to watch. It's fun to cheer for. Justin Jefferson's coming back soon. That will elevate this team to another level. You have to say that this is one of the 5 best coaching staffs in the NFL. Kevin O'Connell's doing a fantastic Coach of the Year candidate type of job. Brian Flores is one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, blitzing at an insane rate, but it's working for them with such an under kind of manned unit out there. But they're making stops. They're getting turnovers. They're making key plays in key moments, especially in the red zone and on third down. And the offense just works. Like, it just works. Even without a running game, the play action is deadly. The wide receivers get open. They get separation. There always seems to be a go-to play on third down or fourth down where they need it the most that O'Connell draws up, and it works. I'm excited to see what Josh Dobbs can do with a full week of practice against the Saints at number 17. At number 16, the Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the weirdest teams in the NFL that I've seen in a long time. They have yet to outgain an opponent all year long, and yet their record is fairly impressive. Now, they haven't played exactly the toughest schedule, but overall, they just continue to find ways to win. And even though it's ugly, they feel like a good bet to win when they play at home. And the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is really tough. Cameron Hayward came back. He really helped the interior, especially against the run. TJ Watt is dominant. I love how Joey Porter Jr. is playing. Minka is elite when he's on the field. And I just think they're starting to figure it out a little bit more on offense to the point where they're not embarrassing. Like, I like that they're getting under center a bit more and running the football from under center a bit more. I think that was effective against Tennessee. I like the switch at right tackle to go to Broderick Jones, I believe, at right tackle. And Deontay Johnson makes a big difference for this offense. You can't just really look at George Pickens as the guy. Deontay can make you really wrong quite often if you overplay Pickens, or if you just get disrespectful with trying to stop the run. You know, Deontay can make a double move, get open versus man coverage, and make a big play. So we saw that against the Titans. At number 16, I have the Steelers. At number 15, the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud. This is probably peak CJ Stroud, but I don't even care. The Texans could make the playoffs with the way that this kid is playing. He is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He might be the best rookie quarterback I've ever seen. And it's not just because of the arm or the accuracy or the composure. It's the intelligence at this point in his career to make simple but effective game-managing plays like throwing the ball away when you could have been sacked or you could have made a bad decision or you're panicked. Just to make the smart quarterbacking play, CJ is doing everything right, from the explosive passes to the extension of plays to the game-winning plays like throwing the ball away and not taking a sack. The offensive line's getting better. The run game is still pretty weak. The defense needs to play better. The run defense is kind of pathetic. The pass defense is not bad, but the run defense is a little pathetic. They need to get better in that category for them to make the playoffs, because it can't just all be Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, and the high octane right now passing attack of the Texans. At number 14, the New Orleans Saints, who is a very confusing team. I feel like they're more talented than most of the teams below them, but they could lose to most of them just because they don't capitalize on turnovers. They're terrible in the red zone unless they give the ball to Taysom Hill. I like their receivers. I like their offense overall. It just feels like they're hit and miss. They're inconsistent. They don't turn all the yards and all the drives into points. And the defense, I also feel, has not played that well as of late. I thought they let the Bears move the ball way too effectively for a guy on the road who's in his second start in his NFL career. I just don't love that. And the last couple of weeks, their defense hasn't played as well. Their pass rush at times can be non-existent. Their run defense at times can be hit with a few gashing runs. And their secondary is really talented and plays tight in the back end. But if they're not getting a pass rush, there's only so much you can do. So at number 14, the Saints are confusing. I think right now they're the leader in the NFC South, but I don't really feel confident in them from week to week. At number 13, the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have a really good defense, but I'm starting to be concerned about the offensive line and the status of the tackle position. Jedrick Wills also going to be out for long term, if not for the entire year. They already lost Jack Conklin, so they're having to go real deep into the depth chart at tackle, which is one of the strengths of their offense. Now their run game is going to be affected, and pressure is going to be on Deshaun Watson, who already is not good against pressure. Like, he holds on to the ball too long. He takes too many sacks. Deshaun Watson had a better game last week against the Cardinals, but that was the Cardinals playing from a position of where you're ahead. You're able to run the ball. You're able to have play action. The team's on their toes. Like, it was a perfect script for Deshaun Watson to have success. The defense is good, but like, they have had, lesser games as of late against teams like Seattle. So we'll see how they truly match up with a team like Baltimore, who is an elite team, who has a good defense, who has a good offense, who has a great quarterback. The Browns feel a little bit too defense reliant, a little too field position reliant, a little bit too inconsistent at quarterback for me to really expect this team will make the playoffs. That's why I have them at number 13. Respectable because of the defense, but not truly gonna buy in here. At number 12, the Chargers feel a little bit opposite to the Browns. Great quarterback that I respect. I think they have an overall good offense that at times can run the ball effectively, can pass the ball effectively. As long as they're not playing a top 3 to 5 defense, they can move the ball consistently on any team. On the other side of the ball, the defense, I think, has gotten better. Like, I don't know if it's just the competition of the Jets and the Bears, but we saw how the Bears offense looked against the Saints. Like, I feel like the Chargers look a little bit better on defense, especially from a run defense standpoint where they're not allowing a lot of gashing runs. They're not allowing a lot of teams to just run for 4 yards a carry against them. And I think the secondary has become more coordinated and just like not allowing as many big plays. I also kind of like the chippiness they're playing with as of late from Derwin James and Asante Samuel and guys like that getting in your face. I think Khalil Mack's played great. Joey Bosa played really well against the Jets. So I moved them up because I think their defense is playing a little bit better, and we know they have Justin Herbert, which is obviously respectable. At number 11, the Seattle Seahawks. I moved the Seahawks outside of the top 10 after getting shellacked by the Ravens, and most of it has to do with the inconsistency of the offense. The offense is inconsistent. The offense in the passing game is too vertical. It's not enough horizontal. It's not enough easy buttons. It's not enough, okay, let's get 5 yards. Let's move to second down. Let's get another 7 yards. It's a lot of run the ball with Kenneth Walker. Let's look for a deep shot. And there's not a lot of easy stuff in the offense. I thought the Ravens completely confused Geno Smith. Made him look like the backup he used to be. The offensive line is shaky in moments. The run game is inconsistent. And the receivers are really talented. I just don't feel like they're getting the absolute peak potential of this passing game. The defense, I thought, played pretty well against the Ravens overall, but they showed a huge weakness against the run in that game when they weren't able to just fully, play the run and kind of say, okay, we're going to man up in the back end and shut you down. Once Lamar kind of exposed that asset of it, where it's like, if you play Lamar in man coverage, well, he's just going to take off all the time. He's going to extend plays. He's going to find guys open. So you got to shift your formula. And we overall saw that the Seahawks were getting gashed run after run after run. The Ravens are an elite team who also did that to the Lions. So I'm not trying to overreact. But these are the type of teams you have to play with in the playoffs if you want to be a true contender. And I think the Seahawks sold to us this week. They're not a true contender. At number 10, the Buffalo Bills. I moved the Bills up because I view it this way. They have Josh Allen, who I think is one of the 3 overall most important football players in the NFL. And I think if the Bills go to Baltimore, I think they lose. I don't think they lose like Geno Smith and the Seahawks lost. I think with Josh Allen, you have a chance to win any football game. It doesn't matter how bad the defense is. It doesn't matter how bad the offensive line is at times. Josh Allen allows you a floor of competing with any team in the NFL. That being said, the team isn't good. Like, the defense isn't good. It's below average, if not bad at times. But that being said, I thought they actually played kind of decent against the Bengals, or at least better than I thought they would in moments. And the offense, I like some of the things they're starting to do with like Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, finding alternative options to Stephon Diggs. And Josh Allen, again, like, I think they play tough teams. The Cowboys, the Eagles, the Chiefs moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised if this man went Superman and just beat some of those teams, because he's really that good at his best. You gotta cut down on the turnovers, but for them to win games, he's gonna have to force the issue a little bit, and that's kind of the problem. James Cook needs to get the ball. At number 9, the Miami Dolphins. I have the Dolphins at number 9, not because of their offense, but their defense. I think the Dolphins' defense showed me some things against the Chiefs, that they're getting better, that they're improving. Their run defense has been much improved as of late. They didn't allow the Chiefs to run out the clock, which is an accomplishment in itself. A lot of teams allow at the end of the game for the Chiefs to run out the clock. And the Dolphins were able to get the ball back for their offense. Their offense is really good, but it's since been exposed by good defenses. Their offensive line can't block on third down. Tua kind of shies away and pisses himself in the big moment. And if Tyreek Hill is not going off, they don't have a lot of answers outside of that. Their run game is definitely slowed down, and I think that's something that teams have keyed in on to really stop. And if you can stop their early down successful passes, which is tough, you can slow the offense down. But that being said, I think they can only be slowed down by a few defenses in the NFL. So I'd expect them to get back on track. But the thing with Miami is they're a good team. They're not a great team. They are a little bit flashy, and they're not a team that beats good teams. So at number 9, I have Miami. I have them ahead of Buffalo because I think they're less one-dimensional than Buffalo. I think Buffalo is mostly Josh Allen. Miami has a defense now. I think they're getting better there, and I think their offense is still good. It's just not good against good defenses. At number 8, the Jacksonville Jags, a more complete team than Miami. I don't love their offense as much as Miami, but I think we see flashes of their run game with Travis Etienne, their pass game with Trevor Lawrence. They've got a bunch of different weapons. They need to get Calvin Ridley going a little bit more, in my opinion, for them to hit peak offensively. Offensive line did add a piece at the trade deadline. We'll see if that improves them. They have a very tough test against the Niners coming out of the bye week. Their defense, I'm intrigued to see moving forward because I think they've played really good football. My question is, can they get a little bit better against the pass? Because I think their run defense has been really solid. I think they currently rank 31st against the pass. I think that number is a little misleading, but overall, Jacksonville is good. Jacksonville is a good football team. I'm not sold they're great. I think Lawrence is missing something. I think the passing offense is missing something. I think the offensive line is not great. And the defense is good, but not great. So there's a lot of good, but not great with Jacksonville. But I respect what they're doing, and I think they're playing hot football right now. At number 7, the Detroit Lions, who, bye week for them, played well against the Raiders last week, got back on track. Offensive line is their elite unit, but the rest of it is just good. And I think that's my problem with the Lions. They're a good football team. At times, they can be pretty dominant against bad football teams, kind of like Miami. But I question them when they play great football teams. I think a little bit more so than a team like Miami or Seattle or even Jacksonville. They have a puncher's chance against the great teams in the NFL because of how Dan Campbell kind of is aggressive in those fourth down situations. They're a very feisty underdog. Ben Johnson is a very creative offensive coordinator that in a single game can have a great game plan. And a guy like Aiden Hutchinson can come through on defense, and they are good against the run. So at least they have areas where you can kind of like say, well, they can power run teams, they can control the football, they can play action you. In the right script, the Lions can upset good teams. Or really good teams, I should say. They are a good team themselves. I just question if they're in that level of like contender. I think they're good. I don't think they're contender based on their game against Baltimore, but we'll see how they continue to evolve for the rest of the season. At number 6, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, with Dak Prescott the way he's playing, are a contender. I just wonder if they can continue to keep up that pace. They signed Martavis Bryant today, which I would have not had on my bingo card. I never thought Martavis Bryant would play another NFL game. We'll see if he has anything left in the tank. I think they could definitely use his juice on the outside if he still has any. The offensive line is really good. They need to find a way to get more out of their running game, specifically more of a power running game. Their run game is a little bit too finesse, a little bit too smoke and mirrors, a little bit too horizontal. a lot of reverses and things like that, tosses and things like that. They need to get a little bit more downhill. They should have been a team that signed Leonard Fournette, in my opinion. But I like Dak the way he's playing. I love the progression of Jalen Ferguson. CeeDee Lamb is elite. Brandon Cooks can make plays. Jalen Tolbert can make plays. Play Michael Gallup a little bit less and thrive. I also think Mike McCarthy is doing a good job play calling. I really do. Defensively, they're one of the best units in the NFL, especially when they play to their script, where they're ahead, they rush the passer, they cover. They're really good. And their run defense overall has been solid. I love how Bell's playing in the middle. And I think Gilmore, Bland are playing really well. And yeah, overall, the Cowboys are a really, really good team. I think if that game was in Dallas, they probably beat the Eagles. And they could have beat the Eagles anyways. I mean, 2-point conversion, the guy steps out of bounds. If that doesn't happen, you tie the game up late, you go to overtime, you're outgaining the team by 100 and 200 yards. I mean, they just played the Eagles pretty darn tough in their building in a big spot. They didn't shy away. They didn't back down. So give Dallas credit, man. At number 5, the San Francisco 49ers, which is being a little conservative for my actual thought on the 49ers. I still have them going to the Super Bowl in the NFC, and that's my honest thought. But with them being on a 3-game losing streak, I can't realistically rank them any higher than number 5. So we'll see how they look coming out of the bye week, right? Trent Williams should be a little bit healthier, although I don't know if he's going to play this week. Debo will play this week, which is huge, and Chase Young will play this week. I'm intrigued to see how the defense fixed itself coming out of the bye. I think Kyle probably had a hand in that. I'm intrigued to see how Steve Wilkes calls the defense this week. And I'm sure they're going to get back to basics, play a little bit more quarters, play a little bit more cover 3, get back to basics and everything in front of you. Tackle, play with speed, play with your hair on fire. That's exactly how the Niners want to play, and let their 4-man rush go to work. And I would expect a little bit more 5-man rush just to get some one-on-ones on third down and things like that, but not 6 or 7-man pressures like we've been seeing from the Niners as of late. Offensively, I still think they're elite. I just think they had some turnover issues, some Brock Purdy concussion issues, and some Trent Williams issues. And I think the whole thing where when they trail, I think it's overrated. I actually think Brock Purdy this year has shown some real promise when they've trailed. It's just kind of been unlucky. So I would expect them to be better in those situations moving forward, especially when Debo comes back. He's such an engine and such a passion player that gets everyone fired up on this team. He'll be a big addition post-bye. At number 4, the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, I have the Eagles at number 4. I know that sounds low because they have the best record in the NFL, I think. But I just am continuously concerned when it comes to the playoffs with certain matchups where they just can't cover. Like, it feels like every week they're getting shredded by respectable passing offenses. We saw the Dallas Cowboys pretty much go up and down the field against this unit in that game on Sunday, and the Cowboys outgained them, outplayed them pretty much for the entire game. The Philadelphia Eagles have a great offense. They can really run the ball. They didn't really run the ball on Sunday. Jalen Hurts overcame that. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they've got a great offense, and they can pace the game in such a way where they can hide their defense, and their pass rush does show up in big moments, and it did on Sunday. I get it. They're a clutch team. They continue to find ways to win. But I'm talking about winning the Super Bowl here, and I just don't see the issue of the Eagles' middle of the field defense, secondary defense, where I don't see that on the top 3 teams in the NFL. I don't see that one giant weakness like I see it on Philadelphia right now. And yeah, they do have the best record in the league, but that doesn't mean they're the best team in the NFL right now. So I have them at number 4. You could debate maybe number 3, but honestly, I don't think this is a top 2 team in the NFL, even though they do have a great record, okay? At number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Chiefs at number 3. And the reason I have the Chiefs at number 3 is their defense. Honestly, nothing to do with their offense, because their offense is pretty average, to be honest with you. The offense is kind of concerning right now. And this is maybe the big weakness, if you want to argue Eagles fans, of the Chiefs. But it's still Mahomes, right? This is the unit with Mahomes. So he can overcome a lot, and is still Travis Kelce. Offensive line is really good, but they just struggle to score. Like, they have scored over 24 points against non-Bears or Charger teams, I think once all year, which is a pretty low bar for the Kansas City Chiefs, where you consistently expect them to score 31 points every single week, no matter the opponent. So they have Mahomes, they have Kelsey, they have Reed, and they have a great defense. And that's why I think they're a Super Bowl contender, because when you have those elements, you have one great weapon, you have a quarterback, you have a good offensive line, you can play through, to a certain degree, your defense with a great coverage unit that can play man coverage, that can stop the run up front, that has a really deep linebacker group, that's playing such great game plan football on the defensive side of the ball under Spags. I feel like you can win a Super Bowl with a great quarterback and a great defense. I think that's what the Chiefs have. They don't have great receivers. That's a concern. Other teams do that are better than them, in my opinion. That is kind of the difference. But I wouldn't rule out the Chiefs to still be in that conversation to win the whole thing again this year at number 3. But I think you guys can see my concern. They didn't score a touchdown in the second half against the Miami Dolphins. That's a little bit concerning. At number 2, the Cincinnati Bengals. I know their record isn't the greatest, and Eagles fans are probably saying, what are you talking about? They have like 3 losses. The Cincinnati Bengals are the number 2 team in the NFL. Their quarterback is spectacular, Joe Burrow. The way that he operates at the line of scrimmage, he sees everything ahead of time. He picks his matchups. He puts the ball on the money. Every third down, you know they're going to get it. You know they're going to get it. You know they're going to be able to ice the game. Every time they need a play, one of their playmakers steps up. If it's not Joe Mixon, it's Tyler Boyd. If it's not Tyler Boyd, it's T. Higgins. If it's not T. Higgins, it's Jamar Chase. It doesn't matter. They have so many different players individually that are dominant. Offensive line, I think, is improving. I think their run game overall is improving. I think their identity as an offense is improving. And I just think the way that they control the game through their offense, they can score 38. They can win a 24-17 game if they need to. And that game on Sunday, they scored enough points to win, but it felt like they could have scored way more if they really, really wanted to and push the issue and really press the right buttons. But I just love the way their offense is playing and controlling these games. And then on the defensive side of the football, they're opportunistic. They're really well coached. They're situationally sound. They don't really allow you to score in the red zone. They always have 1 or 2 forced interception, forced fumble, a sack, like something big at the right moment. They're a clutch defense, and they don't really have any weaknesses. They're good against the run. They have a good pass rush. Their linebackers are great. Their corners are pretty solid. Cam Taylor-Britt's playing awesome. And yeah, the coaching is good overall. So honestly, like, the Bengals are a Super Bowl team. They have everything you want. They have the receivers the Chiefs don't. Maybe they don't have the defense the Chiefs don't, have, but they have such a better offense, in my opinion. I think the Bengals are an issue for the Chiefs. So that's why I put them ahead of Kansas City at number 2. And then the number 1 team, I think right now, is kind of obvious, guys. I think it's the Baltimore Ravens. And I don't think you can really argue that the way they're playing. They have a historically dominant defense right now, which doesn't make a lot of sense because you look at their defense and it's not exactly Ed Reed and Ray Lewis out there. So they're probably due to regress, but it's such a good scheme. It's such a good scheme. They get pass rush from everywhere, sacks from everywhere. Kyle Van Noy nearly has his sack total for his career in a single season, and he's playing out of his mind. Jadeveon Clowney's playing out of his mind. Matt Abuke is playing great. Their whole secondary is awesome. Marlon Humphrey, Geno Stone has 6 picks on the year. Kyle Hamilton is great. And they have the best linebacker in the league. Roquan Smith is unbelievable right now. And the defense can't be scored on. You can't run on them. You can't pass on them. It's just like, how do you score 14 points right now on this team, especially on the road? Geno was completely confused. They couldn't do anything. That's a good offense in Seattle. They couldn't do a thing. Detroit couldn't do a thing either. That's a good offense. That's a top 10 offense. They couldn't do anything. And then on the other side, you've got maybe the best player in the league, Lamar Jackson, the way he's playing, running the ball, throwing the ball. Offensive line is really good. some guy named Mitchell that has 4.3 speed that's running past everyone for 70-yard touchdowns, a great deep receiving core, not like overwhelming like the Bengals, but they've got 4 guys that can catch the ball and make plays. Odell is kind of improving as of late. You've got Nelson Aguilar who comes up with big plays every once in a while. You've got Rashad Bateman. You've got Zay Flowers. You've got Mark Andrews, of course. And then guys like Devin Duvernay. Like, they've just got so much more depth at the wide receiver position, the playmaking positions, and arguably the most valuable player in the league with great coaching all around. So the Ravens are just like the most complete team right now with an elite quarterback, an elite defense, some really good playmakers, a good offensive line, and that's why, to me, they're the number 1 team in the NFL after Week 9, entering Week 10. Those are my power rankings for NFL Week 10. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. We will see you in the next video. Peace.